After 5 years of living in my house, my daughter-in-law looked me straight in the eye and said, "This house belongs to us now. You need to find somewhere else to live." I just smiled and asked her one simple question. That question made her face go white as a sheet. I was about to make her lose everything she thought she'd won. My name is Thomas Pierce. I'm 58 years old, and I spent 32 years running construction crews here in Texas Hill Country. Before that, I did 6 years in the Navy. I know how to build things that last, and I know when something's about to collapse under its own weight. What I didn't know was how to spot a foundation crack in my own family until it was almost too late. This story starts with the worst day of my life, which happened about 7 years ago now. My wife Helen got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer on a Tuesday morning in April. By Thursday, the doctor was telling us she had maybe 6 months. She lasted 4. Helen and I had been married 23 years. Met her at a church barbecue when I was 32, fresh out of my divorce from my first wife. Helen was 29, working as a school secretary, had this laugh that could fill up a whole room. She was the kind of woman who remembered everybody's birthday, and always had something cooking when you walked in the door. We'd bought this house in 2009 minus 2,400 square feet on 3 acres outside Dripping Springs. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I put in the tile work myself, built the back deck with my own hands. Helen planted every flower in that garden out back, spent hours out there in her sun hat, talking to those roses like they were her children. When the cancer took her, I thought about selling the place. Too many memories in every room. But Helen made me promise to keep it. "This house is your foundation, Tom," she said the night before she died. "Don't you let anybody take that away from you." I should have paid more attention to that word, foundation. For the first couple years after Helen passed, I rattled around that house like a marble in a coffee can. My son David would call every few weeks, drive out from Austin for Sunday dinner, maybe once a month. David was 31 then, working in IT consulting, making decent money. He'd been married to Melissa Rodriguez for about 2 years. Melissa was 27, one of those people always talking about her next big idea. She'd started some kind of app company with her college roommate. Something about connecting pet owners with local services. I never did understand exactly what it was supposed to do, but she was always on her laptop, always in meetings, always just about to close some big deal that was going to change everything. David seemed happy enough with her, though I could never shake the feeling that she looked at him like he was a project she was working on. The way she'd correct the way he told a story, or suggest he might want to dress differently, or hint that maybe he should be more ambitious about his career. But hell, I thought, maybe that's just how young marriages work these days. Then in 2019 everything fell apart for them. The app company went under. Turns out connecting pet owners with local dog walkers wasn't the goldmine they thought it would be. Melissa had put every penny they had into it, plus money she'd borrowed from her parents, plus a bunch of credit card debt I didn't know about until later. That's when David called me, sounding like he'd been run over by a truck. "Dad," he said, "we're in trouble. Melissa's company failed, and we're about 6 months behind on rent. The landlord's threatening to evict us, and I don't know what we're going to do." I didn't hesitate. "Come on home, son. Stay here until you get back on your feet." "Dad, are you sure? I mean, with Melissa and everything." "David, this is your home. Both of you are welcome here as long as you need." Looking back, that might have been the biggest mistake I ever made. But at the time, it felt right. Helen always said family comes first, and after losing her, I thought maybe having David and Melissa around would help fill up some of that empty space. They moved in that October. David got a job pretty quick, doing IT work for a small firm in Austin, about an hour's commute. Melissa spent most of her time on her computer, working on her next project, some kind of online marketplace for handmade goods this time. The first year wasn't too bad. David would help me with projects around the house on weekends. Melissa would cook dinner sometimes, though she always had suggestions about how I could improve the kitchen or how the living room would flow better if we rearranged the furniture. She started small, moving things around when I was out, throwing away stuff that belonged to Helen, saying it was cluttering up the space and I needed to process my grief in a healthier way. When I'd ask her about some missing item, Helen's favorite coffee mug or the throw pillow she'd made for the couch, Melissa would get this wounded look and say she was just trying to help me move forward. David always took her side. "Dad, she's just trying to make this feel more like home for all of us. Mom wouldn't want you living like a museum," but it wasn't a museum. It was my home. The home Helen and I had built together, where every room held a memory, where her presence still lived in the garden she'd planted and the choices she'd made about paint colors and where to hang pictures. By the end of year 2, I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own house. Melissa had opinions about everything. What we watched on TV, what we had for dinner, even when I could use my own workshop in the garage. The noise disturbs my work, she'd say. Like whatever she was doing on that computer was more important than a man working with his hands in his own garage. She'd gotten subtle about it, but she was rewriting the rules of my house one small change at a time. Dinner used to be at 6, when Helen and I would sit and talk about our day. Now it was whenever Melissa decided to cook, which might be 7:30 or 800, depending on her calls with potential investors. And God help you if you mentioned being hungry before she was ready. The worst part was watching what it did to David. My son had always been a little on the quiet side, but he'd had backbone. Now he second-guessed himself constantly. He'd start to tell me about something that happened at work, and Melissa would interrupt with corrections or context that completely changed the story. Pretty soon, David stopped telling stories altogether. "Dad, you seem tired lately," he said one evening after Melissa had spent an hour explaining why we needed to upgrade the kitchen appliances. "Are you feeling okay?" I was tired. Tired of being polite about changes I didn't want. Tired of walking on eggshells in my own home. Tired of watching my son turn into a shadow of himself. "I'm fine, son," I told him. "Just adjusting." But I wasn't fine, and we weren't adjusting. We were slowly losing ourselves, piece by piece. By year 3, things had gotten worse. Melissa had convinced David that I needed help managing the house. She'd point out dust on a shelf I'd missed, or mention how the yard was getting away from me, or suggest that maybe I was drinking too much. I had maybe 2 beers a week, same as I'd had for 20 years, but she'd started making comments about empty bottles and concerning patterns. The real wake-up call came when I found out she'd been going through my mail. I'd been expecting a statement from my pension fund, and when it didn't show up, I called to ask about it. Turns out they'd sent it to my address, but someone had called and changed my mailing address to a P.O. box in Austin. Who authorized that change? I asked. "Let me check." Shows here it was David Pierce who called. Said his father was having memory issues and the family wanted all mail centralized for safety. Memory issues. Safety. I hung up that phone and sat in my kitchen for a long time, understanding for the first time that this wasn't about Melissa being helpful or well-meaning. This was strategic. I started paying attention after that, really paying attention. I noticed how Melissa would bring up my mistakes in front of David. How I'd supposedly left the stove on, or forgotten to lock the front door, or gotten confused about what day it was. None of it was true, but she'd say it with such concern, such loving worry, that David started watching me like I was a bomb that might go off. I noticed how she'd volunteer information about my drinking to neighbors. How she'd mention to the mailman that we're keeping an eye on Tom. You know how it is with older folks living alone. I wasn't living alone, and I wasn't old enough to need a keeper, but she was building a narrative. Most importantly, I noticed how she talked when she thought I couldn't hear her. I'd started keeping my workshop door cracked when I was working out there, and I could hear her on phone calls in the kitchen. Calls to her sister in California, mostly, talking about how difficult it was living with an elderly man in decline. How she and David were sacrificing so much to take care of me. How expensive it was going to be when I eventually needed professional care. Professional care. I was 56 years old, in good health, and running circles around men, half my age on construction sites. But Melissa was laying groundwork for something, and I was starting to understand what. Then came the lottery tickets. It was a Tuesday morning in March, and my neighbor Gary Newman knocked on my door. Gary's 62, retired firefighter. Good man who'd been checking on me more often since Helen passed. His wife, Patricia, teaches elementary school, and they've been solid neighbors for 10 years. "Tom," Gary said, "I'm heading to Murphy's store to buy a Powerball ticket. Jackpot's up to 85 million. Why don't you come along and get one too?" I'd never bought a lottery ticket in my life. Helen used to say they were a tax on people who couldn't do math, but Gary kept pushing. And honestly, I needed an excuse to get out of the house. Melissa had been on one of her improvement kicks that morning, talking about how we needed to renovate the master bathroom because it was dated and not functional for aging in place. Aging in place. I was starting to hate that phrase. so I went with Gary to Murphy's Corner Store. The place has been there since the 1980s, run by an old-timer named Earl Murphy who knows everyone in a 10-mile radius. Earl was behind the counter when we walked in. "Well, if it isn't the Newman and Pierce boys," Earl said with a grin. "Let me guess. You heard about that jackpot and figured you'd throw some money away." "That's about right." Gary laughed. "2 tickets, Earl. Make us rich." I stood there watching Gary buy his ticket, and something made me step up to the counter. "Earl, give me 2 as well." "2?" Gary raised an eyebrow. "Look at you going all high roller on us." I couldn't explain it then, but something told me to buy 2. Maybe it was my construction background, always have a backup plan. Maybe it was because Helen used to say important things come in pairs. Or maybe I just wanted to feel like I was taking control of something in my life, even if it was just a stupid $4 bet. Earl printed out my tickets and handed them over with my receipt. "Good luck, Tom. Hope you win enough to tell that daughter-in-law of yours to mind her own business." Earl had seen Melissa in action at the grocery store apparently. Small towns don't keep many secrets. When I got home that afternoon, David was in the kitchen making coffee. Melissa was at her usual spot at the dining room table, laptop open, typing away at her latest project. She barely looked up when I walked in. "Hey Dad," David said. "How was your morning?" I pulled out one of the lottery tickets and set it on the counter next to him. Went to Murphy's with Gary, bought a couple of these things. "You can have this one." David picked up the ticket and laughed. "Dad, you know the odds on these things are terrible, right? You've got a better chance of getting struck by lightning. It's just $2, son. Maybe you'll get lucky." Melissa looked up from her computer. "Oh, that's sweet, Tom. Playing the lottery like a real local now." She said it with that smile she used when she wanted to sound friendly while cutting you down. "Next thing you know, you'll be buying scratch-offs at the gas station and drinking beer for breakfast." I stuck the other ticket in my wallet behind my driver's license and forgot about it. Had other things on my mind by then, like the fact that I'd started keeping a notebook in my workshop, writing down everything Melissa said and did that didn't sit right with me. 3 days later, on Friday evening, all hell broke loose. I was out in my workshop sanding down some cedar boards I planned to turn into a small cabinet for Helen's garden tools. I'd kept all her gardening stuff exactly where she left it, and I wanted to make something nice to store it in. The work helped me think, and I'd been doing a lot of thinking lately about what Melissa was really up to. Around 7:30, I heard David shouting from inside the house. Not angry shouting, excited shouting. The kind of noise you make when your team scores a touchdown or you find out you got a promotion. I set down my sandpaper and walked toward the house. Through the kitchen window, I could see David jumping around like a man who'd lost his mind, waving that lottery ticket in the air. "We won," he was yelling. "Melissa, we actually won." Melissa came running from the living room, and for the next 20 minutes, it was complete chaos. Phone calls, internet searches, more shouting. They checked those numbers 6 different ways, called the Lottery Commission, looked up tax information online. $85 million, that's what the ticket I'd given David was worth. I stood there watching my son and daughter-in-law celebrate, and I should have been happy for them. Should have been excited about what this meant for their future, for David's security, for the family. But all I could think about was the look in Melissa's eyes as she stared at that ticket. It wasn't joy or gratitude or even surprise, it was calculation. That night, after they'd called everyone they knew and started making plans for what they'd do with the money, I sat in my workshop until well past midnight. I pulled out that notebook I'd been keeping and wrote down everything I could remember about the past 3 days. Every conversation, every look, every comment. Then I pulled out my wallet and looked at the other lottery ticket. I'd never checked the numbers. Hadn't even thought about it since David's ticket won. But something made me pull up the lottery website on my phone and compare. My hands started shaking when I saw it. Every number matched, every single one. See, here's something most people don't know about lottery tickets. Sometimes when you buy multiple tickets at the same location with the same numbers, either quick pick or chosen numbers minus the machine can print out duplicates. It's rare, but it happens. And when I'd bought those 2 tickets at Murphy's, the machine had given me 2 identical winners. I sat there in my workshop staring at that ticket, understanding what it meant. Under Texas law, the person who purchases a lottery ticket owns that ticket unless there's a clear legal transfer of ownership. A casual gift to a family member doesn't change legal ownership, especially when there's a purchase receipt with my name on it and I can prove I still possess an identical winning ticket. Melissa thought she held all the cards, but she'd been playing poker while I was holding aces. The next morning, Saturday, Melissa cornered me in the kitchen. David had gone to Austin to meet with a financial advisor, and she'd been waiting for him to leave. "Tom," she said, settling into the chair across from me with her coffee cup, "David and I have been talking, and we think it's time you started considering your future." My future? This lottery win changes everything for us. We're going to need space, privacy, room to grow. And honestly, this house isn't going to work for our new lifestyle. I sipped my coffee and waited for her to get to the point. There are some really nice senior living communities around here. Places with activities, medical staff on site, people your own age to socialize with. With the lottery money, we can afford the best care available. I'm 58 years old, Melissa. I don't need senior care. Her smile got a little thinner. "Tom, let's be realistic. You're getting older, you've been having some memory issues, and frankly, rattling around in this big house by yourself isn't healthy. David and I have been worried about you. Memory issues, there it was again. What kind of memory issues? Well, you've been forgetting things. Leaving lights on, not locking doors. Last week, you couldn't remember whether you'd taken your blood pressure medication. These are early warning signs, Tom. We just want to make sure you get the help you need before something serious happens." None of that was true. I'd been taking the same blood pressure medication for 5 years, same time every morning with my coffee. I'd never left a door unlocked in my life, and the only lights I left on were the ones I meant to leave on. But Melissa was building her case, one lie at a time. "The house would need a lot of work anyway," she continued. "The kitchen is outdated. The bathrooms need updating. The roof probably needs to be replaced soon. It makes sense for David and me to take over the property and handle all those expenses. All you'd need to do is sign over the deed, and if I don't want to do that," the mask slipped just a little. "Tom, I think you need to be very careful here. David is my husband. His loyalty is to me now. And if you make this difficult, there are legal ways to deal with elderly people who can't take care of themselves anymore." I looked at her across that kitchen table. This woman who'd been systematically destroying my family for 3 years, and I felt something I hadn't felt since Helen died. Clarity. "Are you threatening me, Melissa?" "I'm just pointing out reality," she said. "A judge might look at a 58-year-old man living alone, having memory problems, not taking proper care of his property, and decide he needs a guardian. And guardians can make decisions about where a person lives and how their assets get managed. You know what, Melissa? You're right about one thing. Reality is important." I stood up and walked to the kitchen window looking out at Helen's garden. Reality is that I bought those lottery tickets. Reality is that I have the receipt with my name on it. And reality is that I still have the other winning ticket. I turned back to face her. "See, when you buy 2 tickets at the same place, sometimes you get duplicates. I gave David one of 2 identical winning tickets. Under Texas law, I own both tickets because I purchased them both, and there's no legal document transferring ownership." The color drained from her face. "That's not." "You can't. I already contacted Rebecca Torres. She's a property lawyer in Austin. We've filed a dispute with the Texas Lottery Commission, and we have a solid case." I pulled out my phone and showed her the second ticket. Every number matches, Melissa. Every single one. She stared at that ticket like it was a rattlesnake. "David will never believe you. He'll think you're lying, trying to steal from us, maybe. But he'll have a hard time arguing with this." I pulled out a small digital recorder from my pocket, the same kind we used on construction sites for safety meetings. I've been documenting our conversations for the past 2 weeks, including the one we just had, where you admitted to planning to have me declared incompetent so you could steal my house. Melissa went white. "You can't record me without my permission. Texas is a one-party consent state, Melissa. As long as one person in the conversation agrees to the recording, and I agree to record my own conversations, it's perfectly legal." I sat back down across from her. "You know what else is legal? Filing a police report when someone tries to forge your signature on a power of attorney. Stephen Martinez from First National called me yesterday. Seems someone tried to get control of my bank accounts using a signature that didn't match their records." Her hands were shaking now. "Tom, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. You've been planning this for months. The mail redirection, the lies about my memory. building a case for incompetency, all so you could take my house and my assets. The lottery win just gave you an excuse to speed up your timeline. When David got home that evening, I was waiting in the living room with everything laid out on the coffee table: the second lottery ticket, the purchase receipt, the notebook I'd been keeping, and printed copies of the bank's fraud alert. "Dad, what's all this?" David looked confused, which wasn't unusual lately. "Sit down, son. We need to talk." I told him everything. About the identical tickets, about Melissa's threats, about the forged power of attorney, about 3 years of systematic manipulation designed to steal his inheritance. I played him the recording of our morning conversation, as Melissa's voice filled the room talking about having me declared incompetent and taking the house. David's face went through a whole range of emotions: confusion, disbelief, and finally, understanding. "She called me an old fool," I said quietly. "Said you were too weak to stand up to her, and I was too old and stupid to fight back in court." David looked at his wife, who was sitting on the edge of the couch, looking like she wanted to disappear. "Melissa? Is this true?" "David, you have to understand. I was just trying to protect our future, by stealing from my father, by lying about his health, by forging his signature." David's voice was getting louder. "How long have you been planning this? It's not what it sounds like. It's exactly what it sounds like." David stood up and walked to the window. "God, Melissa, how could you do this? He took us in when we had nothing. He's been nothing but kind to you, and you've been plotting to steal everything from him." The mediation with the Texas Lottery Commission took place 3 weeks later in Austin. Melissa had hired a lawyer from Dallas, but when he saw the purchase receipt, the identical winning ticket, and heard the recorded evidence of fraud, he withdrew from the case before lunch. The commission ruled in my favor, all $85 million. After taxes, it came to about $42 million. Melissa's world collapsed pretty quickly after that. The attempted fraud charges meant she couldn't claim community property in the divorce David filed. Her gambling debts, which we discovered during the proceedings, meant she had to declare bankruptcy. Last I heard, she moved back to California to live with her sister. David stayed in Texas. It took some time to rebuild what she'd broken between us. But we managed it. He got his own place in Austin, comes out to the ranch most weekends. We're working on a big deck project together, something I'd planned to build with Helen before she got sick. With the lottery money, I did something Helen would have been proud of. I established the Helen Pierce Foundation for Elder Protection, helping families fight financial abuse. Rebecca Torres runs the legal side, and we've helped 31 families in our first year recover stolen assets and protect themselves from predatory relatives. I also bought a ranch outside Dripping Springs, 75 acres with a view that goes on for miles. Sold the old house to a young couple with kids who'll fill it with the kind of laughter Helen always wanted to hear there. People sometimes ask if I feel bad about what happened to Melissa. Truth is, I don't. She made her choices, and actions have consequences. What I learned is that love and loyalty have to go both ways. You protect the people who protect you, and you don't let anyone, not even family, threaten what you've worked your whole life to build. I'm 58 years old, I've got more money than I ever dreamed of, and I'm living the life Helen and I always planned. Most importantly, I've got my son back, and I'm helping other families stay together when predators try to tear them apart. If you're dealing with something like this, manipulation, threats, family members trying to steal what's rightfully yours, here's what I learned. Document everything, get a good lawyer, and never let anyone convince you that standing up for yourself makes you the bad guy. Your home, your dignity, and your family relationships are worth fighting for. Sometimes the best victory isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just refusing to be a victim and building something better from what's left.